Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to see each one of you this afternoon through Zoom. I see many familiar faces and some new faces as well. Our church is First Evangelical Church of Arcadia, and we are located on Foothills Boulevard in Monrovia. Today, we are hosting a parenting workshop with the theme, Parenting Young Children Through Pandemic. First, I want to invite our pastor, Pastor Manjans, to start today's session with prayers.
Before we do that, just want to let everybody know that we're recording this session, but only for those who have registered, but either cannot listen to the whole thing or would like to listen again. So if you would like to, then just go ahead and write an email back to the parenting email. So let's pray. Dear Lord, we thank you so much. These are unprecedented times. It's been 6 months for the lockdown. And Lord Jesus, a lot of our parents are struggling. And unfortunately, at this time, there's little information with regards to how to parent. There's a lot about how to open businesses and how to wear face masks, but very little about how to parent, especially for Christians at this time. How do we parent our children in these unprecedented times where school, where lockdowns, where friends, where church are all restricted? Lord, this is a very important topic, and we thank you that Charlotte is available to be with us today. Thank you, Lord, because you have given us some guidelines. And so we pray this afternoon that, Lord, you will speak through Charlotte, and that, Lord, that today as we discuss, that, Lord, all of us will be blessed, and not just blessed, Lord, but all of us will be able to put into practice what we learned today. Thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you. So before I invite the speaker, I want to mention a couple of housekeeping rules. We are going to put everyone on mute except the speakers to reduce the background noise. And we have reserved some time after the presentation for Q&A session. So if you have any questions, please hold on to it until after the session, or you can type it in the participant chat room, and then we will provide it to Charlotte after the session. Okay, so now let me introduce our speaker. We are very excited that we are able to have today's speaker, Charlotte Lin, with us. She is a marriage and family therapist with emphasis in emotional regulation and cognitive behaviors. She holds a master's degree in marital and family therapy from Fuller Technology Seminary. Prior to that, she had been practicing as an attorney in international commercial fields for more than 10 years. She is licensed to practice law in New York and Taiwan. With her Christian faith and professional background in practicing law and therapy, she is able to provide counseling to many families that is biblically based. So without further ado, let's welcome our speaker, Charlotte Lin. Go ahead, Charlotte.
Okay, let me share my screen so that you will all see the slides. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, like today, I'm going to talk about this topic that bothers a lot of parents, including myself. Yeah, and the topic, Pastor Monjans actually asked me to focus on young children. Originally, the parenting is for all children below 18. But I will today I will try to focus more on young children. Yeah, because I know you are going to talk about teenagers in another maybe course. So let me start with some questions and some slides first here. Just as everybody know, it's been 6 months already. We've been locked down for 6 months. And just as Pastor Monjin said, it's unprecedented. It's peculiar, it's rare, it's it never happened within 100 years. We are experiencing this COVID-19 pandemic together. And I hope we are all safe and healthy. So how do we see parenting issues in the pandemic? I don't know what comes to your mind when you think about parenting issues in a pandemic. Like I try to list some, yeah. And some part of, some part is also like my voice, like, staying together 24/7 due to the lockdown with your family members, especially your kids. And for a lot of parents, we are now kind of like doing quasi homeschooling. And that's not my, really not my interest, my talent, my gift, but we are forced to do that. Also, we may like face some challenges from online learning. That means like your kids may need help for online learning, or they have some challenges because of their age, their attention span, their concentration, or even your like resources, like because you have to work, like like I just saw today a friend's like post that they they keep like how to say, like they keep spending like keep like upgrading their internet scale, because it's never enough, because everybody's using. And the other thing, for a lot of parents, and maybe for a lot of moms especially, you are facing work, kids, or even the household work simultaneously. Yeah. And sometimes they're conflicting, like honestly. And we also like face isolation, just as, yeah, what we just prayed. We kind of like isolated from peers, from friends, from church, and hopefully we are not isolated from God. And we have a lot of stress. We have a lot of negative emotions, not only you, but also your kids. Sometimes we even have tension among family members. We have tension because of like we feel anxious, we feel stressed, we feel like scared, or just in California we even had like wildfire, we even had like bad air, we had earthquake, and some cities they did like experience the protests and looting and etc., like a lot of things. And we got tension among like couples, on kids, and or just between parents and children. These are all parenting issues. These are all our challenges, especially escalated in a pandemic. What bothers you the most? Like I ask everyone to ask yourself, what bothers you the most? What comes first? When I ask the question, what comes first? A lot of times, especially like I have a 3-year-old son, as a parent, we are actually like usually caring about like our kids' physical well-being. And like I still remember I'm expecting another child actually in my belly. So like I still remember those days, like I'm wondering, I'm researching, I was researching, and I will be probably more like, oh, like how to keep the routines, how to keep the schedules of feeding, sleep, and their routines for their learning, reading, everything. We actually care about physical well-being. We also care about academic if you have school kids. As an Asian American parents, I think you know more about this, like, I mean, than anybody else. Like we really care about like academic like performances, or at least they can catch up, like, at school, right? And we even concerned about their achievement, or yeah, like a lot of things like in our culture we value like much more. But just now think about the greatest challenges that comes up in your mind when I ask the question? Quickly name 3. What's your parenting issue? Not necessarily through the pandemic, but especially like during the pandemic. What's your normal, what's your, or always like greatest challenges with your kids? And now consider the following. It's actually like, for me, from my perspective, is also really Christian centered. Why? Are feelings central to these challenges? Are feeling or emotions central to these challenges? Why I say it's Christian centered? Because we are required to build up ourselves, to build up our kids, and to even build up our characters, our faith in relationships. So whatever you think about, like academic, like, you know, if they go to bed too late, they don't want to get up, and you got like tension, you got conflicts, it's all about emotions, feelings, and overall relationships. Emotions are, you know, instant in interrelations, you know, like among people of what is happening. So outside, that means like, you know, outside means your environment or like relational, or inside. You don't really come up. You don't really, probably you don't fight back, but you boil, like you boil up like inside, or you keep resentment, or they keep resentment, or, you know, like, and things can get worse because it's not expressed. Yeah. So this actually all happened because of past experiences. Not only kids' past experiences, but also our past experiences. So here, like, I just want to let you know that like today's parenting class, we will focus on actually emotion, feeling, and relationships, because that's the key of your relationship with your kids. It's also the key if you can build up, or you can like you can raise up, like, you know, confident of your kids, like confident kids, confident children, because you are confident parents. When I say confidence, you will know more because we are going to like define more as we go through. Okay, so today's focus, like, of course, I will like give you some guidelines for different ages, and also for some, like, you know, some tips like in the daily life. But generally, I want to talk about, like, you know, emotions, how we manage emotions, how we manage kids' emotions, how we like kind of communicate in our relationships as the general guideline. We're going to focus, firstly, how to manage the stress and emotions in lockdown while staying together 24/7. So that's the basic thing. Yeah. And second one, I want to, like, you know, talk about how to help and manage the emotions of children when they are facing like online learning, isolation, because different age, they are at different developmental stages. Some of them, they really need like social interaction. Otherwise, they cannot learn, or they rely upon social interaction so that they can feel like recharged, happy, or, you know, they can grow some like skills. But this is the key in the pandemic. We cannot. And how do we go through it? And how to face the loss and anxiety caused by the pandemic and lockdown. We actually lose a lot of things. We've lost a lot of things. And some kids, they lost their commencement, their sports activities, their music. I mean, you know, just a lot of things. As you can imagine, they lose the opportunity to like spend time with their friends. Yeah. And yeah, like, you know, just a lot of, and they even lose the hugs they can have with their friends, you know. So yeah, I think it is a good thing that we can all learn to manage those negative emotions. And the key point here is self-care. Yeah, I'm thinking that when we think about or imagine a parenting class, some of you might just think, oh, I'm going to learn some, tips or instructions so that I know like how to make my kids like concentrate, or how to like keep my kids like, go to bed earlier, or that kind of like really practical tips, or like you can just do ABC so that, like it's the parenting. Probably some of you might think so. But the key point here, I want to let you know that, especially in relationship, especially for Christians, what we focus and values more is relationship, and also a healthy character, healthy relationship, so that just as like the Bible says, the kids can prosper in every aspect if you do have good communication and relationship. But the key for the healthy relationship in a household is self-care. Why self-care goes first? I think most of you remember this like instruction when you are about to take off, like in an aircraft. Do put on oxygen mask first, yours, like your oxygen mask first, before you put on oxygen mask on your kids. So you goes first. It's not selfishness. It's not like, you just care about yourself. It's that because you are the resource, you are the support, you are the main, especially when they are young, you are the main support and resource of your children. If you don't care about yourself, how do you love one another just as you love yourself? We don't know how to love others if we don't know how to love yourself. Like, so the same thing, like we have to do self-care. So before we go deeper, like I want to like invite every one of you to take an exercise with me. Let us take a deep breath, like, let's do some exercise here and perceive our inner selves. That's something I don't know if you ever experienced, but if you're not, just like try something new, okay? If you're willing to, you can close your eyes. Here, we are going to learn a new way of breathing, and some of you may be familiar with this. This is actually called like diaphragmatic breathing. That means you actually breathe from your diaphragm. So like, like abdominal. So if you're willing to, like, you can like one hand like press on your chest or heart, one hand press on your like your belly, and try to sense the move of the air, not from the chest but from the belly. So that means when you breathe in, you have to feel like your belly bump but not your chest. And the key is that you breathe in like 4 seconds and you breathe out at 8 seconds, or at least twice. You breathe out twice the seconds you breathe in. So you have to breathe out more. Okay, let's try together. Okay, let me count. So breathe in, 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, breathe in, 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can continue like breathing, like, deep breathing. Yeah, of course you're breathing. And then like go through your mind and your heart at the moment? What emotions are you aware of now? What emotions or what feelings? How have you been and how are you feeling? Are you feeling like in hurry? Are you feeling relaxed because it's Saturday? Are you feeling still like filled up with a lot of coming, like, to-do list? Where do these feelings or emotions exist in your body? This is actually from science. Like what I'm teaching now is actually, we actually store our emotion and stress in our body. If you have stress, your shoulder, there's something there in your shoulder, you may know it, or your massage therapist will know it. Do you have something in chest? Do you have something like, you know, like maybe in your mind, and that comes with symptom with your like stomach or with your headache? No matter what emotions you are aware of now, give yourself some space. This is actually a space because we are actually spending some time here. Do you allow yourself to have space and time to accept that every emotion you have, like I feel frustrated, I feel annoyed, I feel angry, I feel confused, I feel tired, each of them is normal. You may try breathing several more times when I'm like teaching, like, freely, and give yourself some time and space so that there comes the rest, there comes refreshment. Okay, so just as I mentioned, um, how have you been recently? Please recall what kind of emotion have you ever held during this period. How do you face and react these emotions? Not only yours, but how do you face your family members, your spouse, your husband and wives, your kids' emotions? Are you sick of? Are you tired of? Are you like annoyed? Are you frustrated? Are you just want to, do you want to just escape? Like, like this kind of emotions. What emotions come along? That means what emotions come after these emotions? Everyone is facing different situation, and everyone is having different, like everyone has different resources. Why I say that is like something like happens really often, that is parents can have different opinions about how to deal with a thing. And that's not uncommon that you and your spouse have different style of doing things. Not only your spouse, but also like maybe your kids. So for example, like, the dad can think, oh, because of, it's pandemic and, it's lockdown, like everybody like is facing the same, so that you don't have to worry because, everybody will face the same, like finally, or yeah, anyway. But mom can be really anxious, like I kind of feel that, like my kids cannot catch up, I don't know if he understand, or, we don't have, can we have enough supports so that, he can still keep his like his GPA, because he's going to yeah, like for young children they don't have to apply yet, but like, you are like worried. But everyone has different thoughts or pattern of doing things. It's very easy for family members, or even between parents and kids, because at their developmental stage they have different concern or focus. Maybe they care more about, like, their like sports clubs members like opinions than yours, you know, that actually bothers you a lot. Or they really want to do, they really want to go to a party, but you are so worried about the pandemic. And as an Asian like parent, we are concerned about, do they really like wear their mask, or do they go to the beach, and you know, are they partying, are they safe distancing? We all have different thoughts, but everybody's different. Yeah, but that's where stress comes from. Sorry. So we need to build up space. That means slow down. Slow down, even it's different. Slow down, even there's some concern. Slow down, even there is some tension. Yeah, slow down. We need a space. So possible emotions that come up, like just as I mentioned, like I list some here, like as you know, like anxiety, frustration, loss, worry, fear, anger, sadness, depression. It depends on your child's temperament or your temperament. And reluctance, some of them, they are, you know, not only the children like will be reluctant, or they're against like online learning. As I know, like some of our brother and sister, they are really reluctant to have service online or to have like online fellowship. They don't feel that, you know, it's in person or they are personal. Or we all feel a lot of like restlessness, a lot of, you know, like unrest, because a lot of happenings, weariness, or some excitement because they have different like focus. Okay, so how to manage like stress emotions? Like as I just introduced, we are missing, so we have to mourn. We are mourning the missing normal. Nothing is normal now, and actually the abnormal, the lockdown, the shutdown actually becomes new normal. Online learning, Zoom meeting, or live streaming like becomes a new normal. It's a different world, totally. And the normal life we were used to is gone. Can you allow yourself or your kids to mourn or to feel bad or to feel sad about it, to feel the loss? Every kind of sadness is reasonable. It just needs a space. It just needs a space. That means you allow it. Where love exists, like if you love sports, you really miss, and you are really mourning like the moments you can enjoy, like, you know, going to Dodgers, or you're going to watch like Lakers, or they can actually play basketball with their peers, their friends. If you have something you care for, you love, you feel the loss. But sadness is not a problem that can be fixed. Sadness is something to be seen, to be heard, and to be witnessed. So how do we face sadness and loss? Like, I think some of you may be familiar with the 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Before the 5th stage, we all have different kind of reaction. We try to do something, not only you, but also your kids. If they are angry, but they don't express, or they don't even know they are angry, they probably will have some like behaviors. They probably will act out something. You just think that, oh, here comes the problem, because, oh, he's like terrible 2, horrible 3, or he's teenager, or just because he probably got some behavior issue because of like fights like with you, or fights with others. But there is also another possibility. They have something in mind. they are not aware of, and they don't know how to express. It happens to them, it happens to your kids, it also happens to you. So we need to detect and name it. Sadness here is an example. We have to know it, we have to name it. Sadness needs a space to be witnessed, and also so as other like emotions. So when we talk about emotional awareness, just as like I just taught like the breathing method, you can perceive your bodily sensation. You can also like the first step, you know yourself, and then you can also see what happens to your kids, and then we can practice that. A lot of times we don't have the words. We just say that I don't feel good. I don't feel like I feel a little bit upset. I don't know why. Or you can try to describe maybe from your body. I know it's not easy because a lot of times we have ignored our bodies or like our mind for a long time, and we are so busy with like a lot of ongoing things. Just try to say that, yeah, I I feel like a little bit tight, I don't know where, and I feel like a little bit weary. I feel that, yeah, I don't feel good, and maybe it's because I feel a little bit like I feel like resentment, like for like who and who, something like that. We can always try to feel. And there are a lot of occasions you may try to do this practice, especially like I would suggest, for example, when you are taking a shower, when you always have some like really self time or private time. Try to slow down and think about like yourself, what's inside, name it. And the key point here is beware of it. Be non-judgmental. Do not judge. Like, oh, you have to be thankful. You have to be thankful that I provide you with, this good environment and everything. You have to be thankful. So don't cry more. Don't be upset. I just try my best already. So yeah, we actually sometimes we not only tell this to our like family members, to our spouse, to our kids, we sometimes tell it to ourselves. Like we don't allow ourselves or our kids to have emotions, especially negative emotions. They can be happy, but you don't want them to feel upset because that bothers you. And another key point here is that sometimes different emotions can coexist. For example, I can feel thankful about like what like my parents like did to me or like provided, but I can also feel lost because they didn't really spend enough time with me. They didn't really they didn't keep like a promise, I care a lot or something like that. We can have conflicting emotions. The key word here is use and, not but. Like, oh, I feel thankful and I also feel like, sad. I'm sad about like I don't have time with my kids, or like I don't like like I don't spend like enough time with who and who. Yeah, something like that. Don't use but. When we use but, that means you give it a merit, like if it's right or wrong. Okay. And the next point here is that your emotion is yours. What does it mean? That means it's individual, it's respective, it just belongs to you. you don't have to, emotion is like really personal, but behavior sometimes affects others. So now we're talking about emotions. Yeah. You can feel sad, you can feel angry, even though nobody feels that. You can feel happy, even everybody is, I mean, really not happy about it. We tend to judge our own feelings. If we do that to ourselves, we do that to our kids. You should feel thankful. You should feel like, happy because you can do this. Like see those kids or see like your like classmates or see who and who. Like if we have the tendency to judge ourselves, like to say that, oh, as a Christian, we shouldn't feel something. We shouldn't feel like, like resentment. We shouldn't feel angry. Yeah. Like, but just imagine what you saw, what you see, we see in Psalms. David is so honest. David is so true. David even cursed his enemies. I didn't like, urge you to, or like, just invite you to curse your enemies or whatever. But I just want to say that David is a man after God's heart, because when he's really honest with his feelings, then comes the answers and the prayers and then the praise. So before we have anything like, we can solve or we can like pray, we can rest, God also want our like honesty in our feelings, not only like in the communication with one another, but also in the prayers with God. So when we judge emotions, it will bring shame. Shame is also like a very interesting characteristic for a lot of Asian cultures, because we are more like group oriented. Like, we always think about, oh, it's weird if we do so. If we think so. If it's weird if we express that we feel something. So when we judge, it will bring shame. Yeah. So this also happens to your kids. And I will talk about some developmental stage, so that we know that sometimes, like, it's important for several stages. We have to help them, help your kids to go through the stage, to have confidence instead of shame. Okay, so no matter what emotions you have, there's no right or wrong. Yeah, behavior sometimes, of course, we are actually ruling, we are actually disciplining, we are actually trying to teach our kids like some manners. Yeah, there are some manners, it's like better or like more right. But for emotions, that's personal, that's subjective, and that is okay. And there are a lot of times, yeah, just as I like exemplify, we are inclined to compare our pain with others, to compare our environment, our resources with others. But emotion is subjective, and it's okay because it is yours and it all only belongs to you. Okay, so here comes the interrelation, like between body and your mind, like your body and your emotions. So as you can see here, like anger, fear, disgust, happiness, sadness, you see different colors, right? So it does affect your body. Yeah. So when we talk about it, like, like in the, I think in the song, like in the proverb, like the joy, like, joy is actually why it can heal the sickness or the body, because actually our emotions really affects our body. You see the color here. You see depression, like it's very like of course, neutral that you don't feel anything, like you're sleeping. And depression you see is all blue. That's the energy. And yellow and red, when you see anger, like your head, your heart, like, will turn red or yellow. That means like the neurons, like, actually react a lot, and it got a lot of like nerve system like stimulated, and it affects your organs. Yeah. So after being aware of emotion, we have to use our mind and thoughts to think, what message does the emotion convey? Try to do it like and practice on yourself so that you will know what message does your child's emotion convey. So we have to like practice and know it like firstly ourselves. Be curious. What is the emotion trying to tell you about? Sometimes you said, "Oh, I'm angry because he doesn't he doesn't follow my instructions," or like I'm angry because he doesn't cooperate, or I'm angry actually. Sometimes anger can be disguised, or sadness can be disguised. We are actually anxious because we have memory from our family of origin, like I always forget something about like my, for example, like my parents, or like my father actually got a disease because he got something wrong or he did something. And then we are always anxious when our kid like goes to beach or goes to outdoors. For example, I just tried to make an example here. Like a lot of times it actually comes from our own anxiety, and then we actually express anger, or like just because I'm really worried about like my project or my job, or like my church, like I have something like with my church members, and then I actually lose temper on my kids, and because they don't follow my instructions, and then I kind of out of control. And because I lose the sense of control, I actually become like impatient with my kid, and I don't want to let them choose what they want, because I want them to be efficient. Because honestly, I want myself to be efficient, but I just like kind of reflect my anxiety on my children. That's one thing. One example is possible. So what is the emotion trying to tell you about? So when we talk about parenting, when you are also emotional, it's hard to really do a good or an appropriate parenting. So here, like I just like list some like probably underlying factors. For example, sadness. Sadness refers to when we lose something important. Sometimes we say, "Oh, it's okay," but honestly, deeply inside, it's not okay. So if you don't let it go out, it will come up somewhere else. Anger is also like that. When we feel wronged or unfair, or like for example, like some people will feel angry if they don't see like people, um, like for example, they go hiking and they don't see people wearing masks. They feel like angry, but deeply, actually, it comes from maybe your anxiety or your fear because of the pandemic situation. Usually, anger refers to when you are wrongfully treated, or you face something unfair. Loneliness, because we lose the connection. And anxiety, that's something like, very common, but sometimes very trivial and not seen, like in a lot of ways when we're doing things, or when we are interacting with kids. Be curious about the emotions message. What is the message to tell you? Here, sorry about that. This like psychology thing. Like I got a lot of like general theory like to introduce so that we can know more about ourselves. Yeah, from scientific like perspective. There is a new like more modern like nerve system like introduced like recent days. Vagus nerve. Yeah, vagus nerve. Like here we see like before we always talk about yeah the traditional two nerve systems, but here the vagus nerve is a more modern theory that we can see how we react or how we face the threats, challenges, or stress. Okay, so when we feel safe, that's a letter like in the on the top, like the green part. When we feel safe, we can be socially connected. When we feel threatened, oh, that's one nerve system, sympathetic. Like when we feel threatened, like our body, like our breath, our heartbeat, and like our even like our impulse, like everything will change, and it comes um, the symptoms or like the reactions like fight or flight. I think as many of you like ever heard of it. And when we feel dangerous, we want to freeze. We freeze out, we shut down ourselves. So that actually tell us how to detect our own reactions as well as our children's reactions. For example, like there are times like your kids just they don't want to talk about it, so they shut down their ears, yeah, or they turn off the just as they if they feel something like inside, they cannot concentrate, or they just like like turn off the videos, the screens, or they don't want to talk. And if they feel threatened, they feel like sad, they feel like upset, they either attack or they talk back, they defend themselves, or they just want to like yeah, shut down, and they just stay in the room, they don't want to talk to you, or they just like try to talk as limited as possible. So how do we moderate vagus nerve? When I say they're like levels and letters, that means there are also solutions and like solutions and ways we can moderate, because it's physical thing. Our brain, because that's the like neuroscience like research, our brain will tell a story according to our physical condition. That's kind of the like modern like research result, that our brain actually, if you feel tight, even you don't like admit verbally, your brain actually tells a story about it. So the thing is that we have to know, and we have to detect and perceive and be aware of where you stand on the ladders. Is it green, yellow, or red, or between? So that you know your status. And what can you do to help you like exit from fight or flight the mode, or from freeze or shut down? That requires experiences and also like exploration and experiment. For example, I know that, oh, this time usually, for example, extrovert, you need to talk to somebody. Introvert, you need to like be alone and read something, listen to music, and so that you can calm down. Different people have different ways, and don't kind of presume that your ways is like another person's ways, like your spouse or your kids ways. Everybody has different ways. Like for example, like it's not usually it's not that welcome to moms, but like some some husbands or some like boys, they have to play some video games, and then they can forget about it, and then the body can actually resume to at least like yellow or green level. And diaphragmatic breathing is something also science-based. I just taught you, especially it's actually valid for a lot of like panic disorder or like trauma, like trauma related like symptoms. When we talk about like or when we are doing the like diaphragmatic like breathing, it actually connects to our nerve, and that can moderate the nerve system, the vagus nerve system. I don't know if you ever tried this, but I was actually trying with my kids, because when my son went to the preschool, like their preschool like focus on like kind of like emotion adjustment and character building. And I remember there was one time the focus of the month was that if your kid has tantrum, teach them or help them or count with them from 1 to 10. And to know, like, even when he was only 2, I was actually teaching him, like, how to like breathe and slow down, and so that he can feel calm and then speak to me, what he really wants. And the other thing is co-regulation. This is also science-based. Companion helps, but not just companion helps. Companion, what kind of companion helps? That means if you're calm, your children tend to feel calm as well. If you feel panic, your children tend to feel panic as well. That's for children, but also like for friends, for company, we can always recall that. There are times we actually spend time with some people, like, they are really anxious, and that actually made me anxious too. Like they feel really sad, and I feel really sad too. Like she feels crying, and like I also feel crying. That's sometimes like good part, because we feel we can be sympathetic, we have like empathy. But there are a lot of times we have to know, like, to choose like who you are with, and to remember like who you are actually affecting. For example, your family members. If you are now angry, you probably will invite and incite angry feedbacks as well, and we are all familiar with that. That's called co-regulation. Okay. And last but not least of this part, like we have to build up the resilience. What's the resilience? It's like the kind of the sponge, or the buffer. Like we can be down, but we have to come back. We can be down, but we have to come back. So you can see the diagram here. If you don't do anything with your stress or like negative emotion, you just go up just as the red line. You goes up, and then you explode, and you kind of you lash out, or you just like you say something you feel regretful, like like if it goes up and up. Or some people, you just eat too much, or eat too a lot. Yeah. And if we are doing something to interfere, to intervene, we can do like the curve. When it goes up, we try to help it go down. When it goes up, we try to help it go down. And then it becomes a curve. And what you see, this like the arrows here, is your intervention. When you do intervene, it can go down to yourself, but also to your family members, to your kids. How do we do? Moderate by planning several time offs. it actually depends on individual differences or like your working schedule or your household like resources. Whatever I provide here, there are just principles. You can always design according to your needs and your resources. Planning time off, that means, for example, if like your kids like they have the school schedules or like yours like it overlaps with your work schedules, how do you plan time off so that, for example, like after a meeting with, you know, like something really stressful, can you choose to do something else for yourself before you go to check your kids homework? Yeah, that's time off. So you have to know about yourself. You have to know actually what stress, what pressure actually come to you at what point, at what level, at what time, so that you can moderate, you can plan for it. And then detect your inner feelings. Like actually that's I'm always practicing. Some whatever things I'm doing, like for example, I kind of like I feel that, oh, I volume up like, you know, talking to my son. I know that, oh, I actually feel some pressures, so probably I should, you know, do quality time first so that I can pray, and then, you know, I feel better, and then I can, yeah, I can teach my kids. Yeah. Or yeah, but it actually requires some planning or some like reflection. And it's okay that we don't succeed at first time, but we are just always trying and we are improving. Okay. And the other thing is that diaphragmatic breathing, just as we like practice it together. And grounding is something we also use like in counseling room for trauma based or for anxiety. Grounding is something like, you know, bring back yourself, because anxiety is that your brain goes to the future while your body stays in the present. So when we are saying grounding, that means bring yourself, especially your brain, back to the present. So just like, you know, grounding is what you can practice here. For example, if you are, you can step on the floor and make your feet, just as I'm doing now, like feel the floor and like make your sensations like focus on, you know, like name 5 sounds I can hear, or like, you know, name 5 things I can see from the room, or name 5 colors, you know, like we do something to focus on our present like environments instead of like future worries. Yeah, so that's called grounding. And the last thing is relax your face. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but you can see like a lot of like successful or like, you know, like a lot of people like, or politicians, I don't know, like you can see a lot of stress actually stored on your face. So you will see like between the eyes, between the eyebrows, you actually will see if this people, I mean, if this person like actually feels a lot of stress. Of course, for women, like we tend to like, you know, do some facial thing, but honestly, we also store stress and emotions on our face. A lot of times we can see, we can tell emotions from others' face as well. So relax from your face. That means whatever you can do to yourself, relax, like, you know, squeeze and like relax, or, you know, just do some like facial movement so that you know that, okay, I'm okay now, I feel better now, and then I can do next thing. Okay. Okay, so this is actually the first part of general like principles and like theory, or like, you know, some concepts I want to share with you for emotions. And here I want to share one like verse from James 5:5 and 16. Therefore, confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that you may be healed. The prayer of a righteous man is powerful and effective. That means we always, it's always helpful if we can show vulnerability and accountability with one another. It's also a way we can love one another. So that's why, like, emotions we can express and communicate is really important for healing, for recovering, and for refreshment. Yeah, like we can refresh and recharge. So here, I originally I want to break out rooms for a small group to discuss a little bit. I prepare few questions, but since like it's not set like earlier as like we expected, yeah, I would like invite either like Pastor Munjins, like, or Yanni, or yeah, whoever, like the host, to start like kind of conversation. And for, because now it's already like 1 hour, and then we can take like a break for whoever wants to excuse themselves for a short break. And for others, like I prepared some questions for us to kind of come up some discussion and some interactions about how we feel about ourselves and our parenting issues. So the group discussion, like here, like I prepared 3 questions. How have you been feeling like during the pandemic or recently? But I guess this is like quite common. And the second one is more specific. What parenting issues bothers you the most in the pandemic? And here, like I can also hear from you that, like, some questions, and maybe I can, like exemplify like in later discussion. And how do you manage emotions? How do you manage your children's emotions? Or how do you manage parenting issues when you face the challenge? Yeah. So here, like, we just open to the discussion, and yeah, like let Yanni or Pastor Munjins to like
So,
host.
yeah, what we can do is the questions are still on the board. And so any of you would like to just share, maybe not the first one, the feeling about the pandemic, like Charlotte says. What parenting issues bothers you the most right now in the pandemic? Maybe if you'd like to share, go ahead and unmute yourself and then share. And then we can have sort of a discussion. And how do you manage your own emotions? I think for the first half of this workshop, a lot more discussion is on the individual as a parent, right? How do you handle your own emotions? I like the analogy when you go on an airplane, they always say, put the mask on, do not put the mask on your other people, people with you, because if you can't help yourself, you cannot help anybody. So maybe question number 2, I like that better. What parenting issues bothers you the most currently in the pandemic situation? Go ahead and unmute yourself and then give either your comment or your question.
My name is Sylvia. I feel sorry for the kids because, kids are kids. They really want to, we really want to hang out with their friends. They don't have school right now. They can't even talk properly, you can do Zoom or video, but it's totally a text and totally different. They need interactions. I know nowadays kids can text all day long, they will be fine, but still it's missing a big part of communication with their friends. And that kind of makes me feel sad. And also online schooling, you would think it might be pretty much relaxing because you're at home, you have everything at your fingertips, but actually it's more stressful for the kids. I find it more stressful for the kids to adapt to it, and also teachers would think you have more time and give you more homework, and a teacher has to keep track on you, so they want you to raise your hands or show your face once in a while, or ask you a question once in a while. That gives the kids a lot of pressure. So it really bothers me how to how to help them cope with this stress in school and without the companion or friends. Yeah, that's what bothers me. So
Okay, anybody else? Maybe we gather a few more and then Charlotte can give her comments.
For me, the parenting issue that is challenging for me because I have three boys and they're in three different age group. One is 10, 13, and almost 18. But there's one common problem that is applicable to all of them is that their unhealthy lifestyle.
mm-hmm.
And when I say that, of course, as parents, we feed them, but it's just there is no. I guess it's a lack structure in terms of the schedule, um, such as like their bedtime, and then also like the activities they do during the day, and then also the school, the virtual school, the learning experience that somehow they feel like because it's virtual, then the expectations are somewhat less. That's what's in their mind, especially for the younger ones. So, and then because my husband and I are both working full time, so it's kind of like a struggle trying to enforce a regular schedule on a daily basis.
Okay, we have a couple of more, maybe you want to share?
Can you hear?
Yes.
Okay, so I think my question kind of echoes the last question. I feel like because it's online learning, my kids are not as inspired. Because you do the homework, but you just take a snapshot or picture, and it's not like they're really turning in something, and they're not very proud of what they're doing. They're not like enthusiastic about it, I guess. And then they're like, oh, going to school, just looking at the computer, it's not the same. And I think it's hard. It's hard for me to. I think that's the hardest part is trying to inspire them to have, I don't know, the enthusiasm for learning. And then I think that's the first thing. And then if they have that, then they would be willing to, like they're proud of themselves and want to do homework themselves, and they're proud of themselves and enjoy their life that way. I think that's the hardest part for me.
I guess the rest don't have any problems, or they share the same problems.
Oh, and also for the third question, how do you manage your own emotions? That part is very hard. I mean, like, for me, I will consider myself pretty active. I want to be outdoors when I feel down. But then we can't go anywhere. And then especially in the past 3 weeks when the air is very bad, you can't really escape to somewhere. You're just stuck with with the same people. Yeah, 24/7. Yeah, I try to take up a hobby, gardening, just trying to have that emotion outlet, trying to keep myself busy. But then I feel that it's also not helping me when parenting the kids because the kids are not interested in gardening at all. They don't even want to be outside. Yeah, that's that's also an issue.
I kind of have to share that I did the same thing. Like back in March, I was pretty scared, with pandemic, everything going on, and then you're expected to isolate at home. I think gardening does help, at least for me. Looking at green plants and looking at life growing, there's a sense of hope. Looking at things that they grow, and I think it really does help. And by the way, if you get the indoor plants, that helps to clean the air too. And as for the kids, I try to do things that's interesting. And since we can't go out, so I bought a basketball thing so they can play basketball in the driveway. Um, and I guess that's about it. But the past 3 weeks was pretty hard.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have a feeling as we talked, I reminded me the Disney movie Wall-E, that all the people from Earth were trapped in a spaceship. Remember that movie? And they're going nowhere. They don't know where they landed, and everybody gain a lot of weight because they don't have any activities. And I go, wow, it sounds like we're in that spaceship right now. We don't know where we're gonna go. We're trapped in a big spaceship, and it feels that way. I don't know if you guys ever thought of that, but I go, wow. It was, when I watched the movie, it was really scary. I go, wow, with one day, everybody on Earth has to do that to escape to somewhere that you don't know where you're gonna go. It's really gonna be very depressing, and you see everybody gain so much weight and lose interest in life. It's really depressing. It's scary, actually. It's scary. So that's what my first thought when I watched the movie. But now I felt that way. So I don't know.
Okay, so I guess my name's Thomas. I have one boy, junior high school. Was here mostly to glean and to share thoughts for my neighbor who couldn't make it, that has two little ones. But I'm, let's see. So for the most part, my wife and I have been trying to rewrite our emotions so that we show our son not to stress too much about it. And we talk a lot about now politics because it's prevalent. And also I talked to him about how tough the teachers are going to have teaching because their material's not here. So I'm kind of trying to prepare my son ahead of time. And now he's actually volunteered for more after school programs because he's bored sick. And I'm trying to schedule force activities with him and trying to force him to do things he doesn't want to do because he's bored sick. But I'm actually getting a little worried about just scheduling and what the end of this year and school activity is going to be, because he's getting to a point where he actually sleeps in the afternoon between classes because he has not much else to do. And I'm starting to feel that, I don't know, activity wise, it's almost like I don't see, I feel like I'm losing a bit more control over the home situation than I would expect. There's a handful of good things. Um, Now that we're extremely confined together, we got more quality time together, and we've managed to work out more of the problems. But he is a little bit older. But I just feel that this school year's it just feels like we just, as it pans out, it just feels that there's more control that as a parent I'm losing, even though I can try to structure his time. It's not. And right now I let him out at the park to hang out a little bit with his friends. I know more than half of his friends by name, so they're Sylvia knows. I've actually we used to run a little bit, and then we used to stop and say hello to a handful of church friends on the way back. But And then I know that my stress level is extremely high because my phone got updated and it wiped a document that I had all the children listed so that I can keep track of them. And that's all gone. And I was scratching my head going, I know Sylvia has a kid. I just can't remember the name. Can't remember.
The children
But,
must be happy
uh,
that you will remember them.
yeah, well, that's just me. That's I I'm having a hard time phrasing my worry, but I think I'm just worrying about the control that I feel that I'm losing with the structure of the house and the family relationship this year. Well, it's I don't have to be flexible, but it's turning out not quite the way I foreseen things.
Okay, Charlotte, do you want to address some of this, or you're muted? You're muted.
Sure. I can share something. I actually like I I will discuss about something we can do as a parent, and especially I do see like many of you like are worried about scheduling, like structure, routines, and that makes sense. They are so natural because we, especially in this time, in this difficult time, we want to gain some sense of control, at least a little bit in our house. Or sometimes our worry comes from, like, yeah, because we do care about their like well-being, so that we do care if they don't live a healthy, like, like schedule. Yeah, that's so obvious, especially for a lot of moms. Like, I'm worried if you are healthy, like physically as well. So if you don't go to bed early, or you don't sleep, or you just skip meals, yeah, that kind of thing, that's just natural. um One tip, yeah, like we can talk more later, but like here I want to like share with you that I will introduce the developmental stages that will like actually remind us, or like give us some insight to know how to communicate with your kids. When I say kids, I know like some of you just mentioned that I have one, two, three. Like if you have three, you probably need to communicate three different times with different kids as per their different developmental stages, with their different focuses, to have some mutually agreed structure, and not thinking or imagining like that I can set one rule that applies to whole household, and that applies to like everybody in the household, because they have different temperaments. But one key point I will suggest parents try is that to have some mutually agreed structure, not only the structure you set or you think it is the best. Negotiate, especially with those older kids. Negotiate means that you still have the authority. When you talk about politics, you have the authority, you have the power, but you still like have like some mechanism for democracy, right? So you let them talk, negotiate, have a balanced way, so that you can have some mutually agreed like structure, routines, or schedule, so that it maybe not the most satisfactory, but at least it can do something. It works better than if you have a perfect schedule, but you just fail it, or they just don't make it, right? So yeah, that's one thing we can talk more. So in that case, I think it's important for us as a parent to know what we need to like focus, or we need to what matters more, like in different like developmental stages. Okay, that's what we are going to discuss like in the second part. Okay, so do we have more, or like is everybody okay? Do we need like few minutes break, or are we coming back to the.
Hey, if you don't mind, Charlotte, we can go ahead. It's like half an
Oh,
hour, and then
sure.
who wants to take a break can take their own break.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. 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 So I'll continue here. Facing online learning, yeah, like we talk about online learning and we talk about the laws, and then I heard Sylvia, like, you know, like saying that they lose interactions, they lose a lot of like interesting or enthusiasm. That's true. So here, like, there are also some like primary points, um, we have to know, like it happens to our kids at their age. Yeah. So I want to introduce the stages, the like kind of from one psychologist, like Erickson. Yeah, the psychosocial development. That's something we can actually, and we have to focus on, like in the pandemic as well. When we say psychosocial, psycho means inside. That means the inner need of the individual. So everyone might be different, but they have something in common. Social means something from outside, means the need from the society, from the school, from the household, from the parents. I have something as the kids to follow or to develop or to grow. Psychosocial means, like, you know, this interactive development, and there are stages because of the, like, as according to their age. So here we can see, like I will go through the table like quickly, but I will introduce like a little bit more, like one by one. The first one, it happens to like 0 to 18 months, trust and mistrust. And I don't know, like how many children here like with babies, yeah, but I'm going to expect one like really soon. But trust and mistrust, it actually um, goes to the attachment theory, if you ever heard about it. Like the primary caregiver, usually the mom, like, you know, how you give the routine and consistency so they can build up the trust and mistrust. Autonomy versus shame, it happens to toddlers, like from kind of, yeah, toddler, early toddlers, like before 3. And initiative versus guilt, like it's for preschooler and kindergartner, like, yeah, like 3 to 5. And 5 to 12 for school age, it's industry and inferiority. I guess a lot of parents, you have like kids at this age. And for teenagers, even though we are focusing on young children, but I just listed, like, you know, as a whole, as a complete set. Identity and role confusion, that's the focus and main developmental task the kid has to like fulfill or like complete, or they are pursuing. Okay, so yeah, one important thing I want to like remind like every parent, yeah, nothing is perfect. As we know, we all know that, but just like theoretically, like, you know, every stage, if they do develop, if they do, like, you know, achieve, like, you know, successfully the mission or the task, they will develop a virtue. For example, the first one, like, you know, like the baby can feel like secure, and they feel hope, and they know that they can expect something good or consistent coming. And for the second part, they will develop the virtue of will. They can be independent. They can try something on their own. And the third one is purpose. They know that, oh, they can like plan something, and they can, like, you know, try something, you know, and they can initiate something on their own, and they will have, they can feel motivated. And for the school age, like they want to like fulfill the task of competency. They can know they are able to do something. They have their ability. And for teenagers, like when they develop like identity and the roles, it's a transition to adults, and they can develop the virtue of fidelity. Like conversely, if fail to fulfill the task, for example, if a kid fail to feel trust or confident or like independent, it usually will makes the later stage harder. It's not necessary, but usually. For example, a lot of times, like some Asian kids, they can like achieve academically like really good, really well, like successfully. But yeah, like character wise, personality wise, like they can be really they can feel shame, feel guilt, or they get all like straight A. They are not that confident, so, or like they don't feel secure in a way, in an action that actually affects like future, like not even careers, but also relationship or family relationship, or even the relationship with God. Yeah, so we can see here like these words as Christians we are familiar with. It's also like the good thing, the virtue, actually, like God grants all Christians for us to have hope, to have purpose, to have competency, and to have fidelity. So later stage, it's possible to make up, but it just requires more energy, more efforts, or like more like trust or relationship to actually rebuild. Okay, so I will go really quickly. I don't know if they're like parents of babies here, but trust and mistrust, like as just I mentioned, it's actually it's built upon like consistency or predictability. Like if it's reliable, if the caregiver is reliable. When I cry, if I can get fed, and or if like the feeding schedule is consistent, or sometimes I cry but there's no response. This is about attachment. This is about trust. And if it fails, I mean, the baby fails to like build up the virtue, like it can develop some mistrust, even at early stage. Like he can be like more like he can like grow some like with some suspicion, some anxiety, because he's not sure if it's coming just as expected. Okay, so hope versus fear. So that means if you don't have hope, you don't believe like the good thing will come, like you actually grow some like anxiety and some fear. Autonomy versus shame. Yeah, that's for toddlers. That's for the training of independence. So if a child is encouraged and supported, like for example, like they're still young, but some parents do that kids try to achieve something or to do something by themselves. But some kids or even grandparents, they just, if you protect too much, they will lose the opportunity to try. It doesn't mean that you don't care about safety. Of course, it's like, subject to safety issue, like you are kind of allow the children to try and to develop their independence so that they don't feel shame. Why I say that? Because there might be, yeah, it might be a time like potty training. That's especially important if you let them try. Like autonomy, that means like they have accident and or they have mistakes. Do you allow the mistake or like accident? Okay, so if they become overly dependent or they don't think they can be independent, they probably will fail. Later, they can be overly dependent, or they will like lack self-esteem, or they feel a sense of shame or doubt because they are not sure if they can do that on their own. Okay. And for toddlers, yeah, like here, like the keyword is to play. Yeah, so for preschooler, yeah, like here the central at this stage is play. So like you can see, yeah, just as like my own experience, you can see online learning how hard it is for like preschooler or even kindergarten or toddlers, because my kid is also like doing online learning with like his peers, like like learning ABC or 1 2 3 or that kind of thing. But it's hard to play just with the screen, right? Unless it's like video game or something, like it's hard. So do we provide children with the opportunity to explore their interpersonal skills? Because when we are saying, for example, like when I mentioned about online learning of my son, like 3-year-old, almost 4, like 4-year-old son, like actually what comes first and what matters more is the interaction with other kids, other preschoolers. So that him to to interact, to see if like his friends are there, and how they sing songs together, they share toys, even just like before the laptop, before the screen. Yeah. And a lot of times I cannot like focus on if he can write ABC or he can recognize like this letter soon enough. Yeah. So I just want to like remind you, like different stage we probably need to see like what actually comes or what matters most or what comes first. Okay, so if this tendency is squelched, so that means if you it's hindered, like if we criticize, we control, initiate means like he can initiate something. So for this age, like some parents will feel like they have their own opinions, and sometimes their opinions don't make sense. And when they initiate something, you really want to object or kind of like withdraw or like overrule. But if we keep doing that, or if they feel like criticized or controlled, gradually they can develop a sense of guilt, because whatever I initiate is always wrong, or like there's always like bad consequences. Yeah. Okay, so this is about the virtual purpose, and if it fails, like yeah, it's easy to get a sense of guilt. Here, like I know a lot of parents here, like you have school age kids, industry and inferiority. Yeah, this is the most difficult thing, or like the challenge you just mentioned. Already at this stage, like the child's peer group will gain greater and greater significance, up to teenager phase, like their peer group, their like classmates opinions, or their what's popular like among groups will become the focus of your kids. It will become the major source of the child's self-esteem. They want to know if they are popular, if they are competent, if they are able to do things just as other kids can do. Yeah. But here for online learning, we know that just as like many of you just already mentioned, like they lose the interest. They probably the lack of the interaction. How do we do? How do we like, I think like Thomas, yeah, you just mentioned that you know a lot of names of your son, your kids. Like, how do we how do we help our kids to feel connected, to feel they are still like in the influences, in the network of his peer group, or of his like his social circle. Yeah, because it actually affects their self-esteem. And if they can win approval, if they can make it, if they know they're able to do something. Yeah. If not from the screen, as parents, we can we may try to see what else we can do to make them feel capable, to feel like they are approved, they have competency. For example, if they do lose interest because of the online learning, are there any other ways you can make them feel like competent, like feeling able and feeling like, to develop a sense of pride? That means they feel they are, yeah, they are able to do something. They are good enough. Yeah. So conversely, on the other hand, if they are restricted, for example, some parents talk about they lose interest or like enthusiasm from online learning or from some objects. And if it keeps happening, the sense of frustration or not being able to also accumulate it, can we create or think of or come up something they feel competent, or they can feel they can exert, they can really, they have industry. Yeah, they don't feel inferior. Yeah. So why I mentioned here is that if online learning really don't make sense to you, or don't make the purpose or the task for you, maybe we can come up something, even in this period of time, we can help our kids to grow some required task or mission they have to fulfill at this phase. Yeah. Otherwise, like here, the consequence is that, if they keep accumulating the sense of failure or the sense of incompetency, they may not reach their potential afterwards, because they think, oh no, yeah, my biology is not good enough. Oh, because math is difficult, I'm not interested, so I'm not good enough. Or yeah, I don't think I can make it, or I don't want to try because I don't want to, I don't want people to see I fail or something like that. They can develop that kind of inner voices. Okay, so yeah, here I want to add something, because it's also important in some way. Sometimes failure may be necessary, because if we want them to develop some modesty. Yeah. But again, a balance is important. How do we strike the balance between competence and modesty? We let them try, we let them feel okay, but maybe not always okay, maybe not always capable, but it's okay if you keep trying, you keep extend your potential, expand yourself. So the virtue can be developed. Yeah. And doubts and incompetence will not come up. Okay. Originally I have a video here, but I tried. I think I tried. I think it. Oh yeah, I can play. Oh, see. Yeah, I will go through quickly and see if we have enough time to do that. Yeah, because I want to go through the more important, or maybe more the some parts you may be more interested in, discussing. And for teenagers, even this topic is primary for younger kids, but I just want to because some of you you have different age kids. For teenagers, identity is the most important thing they are developing. Here, there's something also important, the roles they are developing is a very important transition for them to transition from a child, being a child, to an adult. Yeah. And the adolescents need to re-examine, explore, and to find out what's their identity. When I say identity, it actually includes a lot. It includes his or her faith, Christianity, gender, or ethnicity, Asian American, Latin American, or Black American, or even occupational, like, you know, do I see a profession like requires my pursuit? Yeah. So yeah, here I want to like point it out, like gender identity also is the key here. We know that the puberty happens like in the adolescence, and gender identity, like I think there it's a very important topic we can talk more like in a different course. But gender identity, that's why also the reason, you know, the California curriculum like actually in some criticism or problem or even some worries or concerns, because they are developing the identities by trying, by exploration, by examining. And what resources, what concepts you provide will actually help and determine how they see themselves, how they decide upon their gender identity, or even the orientation. They are still developing. So it is really important and critical. Like at this time, you communicate and you let them know, like it's okay to explore, but why there is a boundary, why there is a limitation, why there like requires protection. Yeah. So that kind of thing we can talk further, yeah, like with another separate subject. Yeah. So during the period, like yeah, they are actually developing the virtue of fidelity, otherwise role confusion, that actually you know, just as I say, like it's always possible to develop at early or later stage, but just, you know, it probably requires more effort and more time or more energy to do that. Okay, so yeah, so identity crisis. If role confusion happens, identity crisis actually comes along, and they probably will try to explore or like do some experiments like with different lifestyles. For example, work, they want to do part-time, they want to find a job, educational, or even like just as Thomas mentioned about politics, like, you know, they will try to like join a protest, or like, you know, they want to see like what their peers talk about Black Lives Matters, what are about like, you know, political like situation. They are just trying different things, and it is usually the time, yeah, like the tension or the conflicts or the differences may come up in the household as well. Okay, and if without good communication, rebellion or some behaviors issue or like acting out, or yeah, like, you know, some yeah, like really bad tension, or yeah, like just these rebellious acts would happen, or even passive aggressiveness like would happen like in a household, especially they physically they are already like kind of like grown up, but you know, mentally they are not yet. Okay, here I will not go through to the details of teenagers, since we are focusing on like young children. But I just want to mention, like, you know, the one part is that when your kids like, you know, grow older and older, the process why we're saying that it's let go. It's I know it's kind of counterintuitive, like we sometimes want to control, but actually as a parents, when the kids grow up, we need to learn to let go instead of control. We control the part we can, but you know, we have to let go. Why? Because when they're growing, their brain actually also, it happens that like their brain, their like social psychosocial need, what we need to do is to pruning, like from generalization. When a kid is really young and really little, they just receive a lot of things just like a sponge. But when they grow older and older, they have to learn to specialize the brain. That means their interest will come up, their focus will come up, their talents will come up. But we have to let go sometimes to see the possibility, to see the potential, to see the the potential for specialization so that we can see their talents and their gifts. Okay. And then we can, and when it's more integrated, that means you spend energy and you get the outcome and result, right? If it's more integrated, the result can be more efficient or like more helpful or more supportive. But if you spend a lot of energy, for example, like if you still want the child to fulfill everything and to finish everything and to generalize and to good at everything, that would be a very challenging thing. Okay. Yeah, this is for teenagers. I will skip here because we are focusing on younger children's like development. Okay. And about online learning, just as we discussed, one boundary I want to draw and like kind of remind every parent here, when we have some different opinions or we feel something like we have some concerns, we have some problems about their behaviors, we can ask ourselves, is this the child's need or my own need? Is that my own need that I want, I want him to finish the Kumon like math? Is that my need? Or every time, especially Asian parents or like some Chinese parents, like we are familiar with those sayings, like it is for your own good, but actually they don't see it. So if they don't see it, they are not motivated. So sometimes we ask something that's because of our own need. Because if you don't do this, I feel lose control. If you don't do this, I feel anxious. If you don't do this, like I feel unsafe. That's my experiences, because I used to like get something or achieve something because of my, like, for example, academic performances or because of my math. But your son, your daughter, like he can be good at like sports, which you are not good at, or she can develop like a dancing, like something like they can achieve something beyond our imagination. But sometimes we limit them based on our experiences or our just our experiences, because we know that we are familiar with that. But but we don't like see other potentials, or we are not sure. Where do you see the child's interest and talent? I heard like parents, just as some of you just mentioned, that they lose interest because of the screen time or because of online learning. They lose the the enthusiasm. Is it because of the subject, or is it because of screen time? Is it because of the online learning, or just because of the subject? Or is it because of the teacher, the teaching style? Or like if there's something further, we have to know. And if it's possible, if you do have like enough time, because I'm impressed that like Thomas just mentioned that, he actually created some activities and spent a lot of time and, like spend quality time with kids. How do you see his interests and talents? Where do you see his interest and talent? Yeah. And what's the priority? Because as I say, we always have a lot of things to do, to achieve, to like, on our list. We cannot just like achieve everything or make everything, just like we just cannot make it. especially in this time. What's your priority? What's your priority for your kids? What do you set? Is it relational? Is it character? Is it his like health? Is it academic? What matters? What matters for you? What is important? You have to know the priority. Or some Christian parents like we want to let them know that faith is important, because if you have faith, then like you can get support, you can get faith, you can get hope, you can actually feel loved. Yeah, like different times and different people, we have different focus or like objectives. Okay, so here oh, we don't have much time left. Here I want to like remind you some like important thing, like especially when we're dealing with anger and like negative like emotions, we have to remind ourselves that they are also developing and learning from losing temper. They are also developing the pattern of dealing with emotions just as we do. If we don't give them the chance, they are not going to learn this after all. So, and the third part is important. Here, we are their guidebook, or we are their like example, like to develop this pattern. So it's actually our responsibility, but our opportunity, because we are the family of origin of our children. Okay, so I think love language, some of you or many of you may be familiar. Like here, the good thing and the important thing is that make the children know they are loved. That means when you are dealing with their emotions or behaviors, do they feel loved? Like, do they feel loved? Do they feel cared? So whatever parenting comes, please remember to meet the need of love first, either by love language or any other things you can do. Okay. And yeah, here the focus here is that sometimes we face their words, their behaviors, and we say that as a parent, we say that, yeah, like what's your attitude? Look your attitude. So we actually we are thinking that they are doing something bad or wrong, so that we just like ignore. No matter how angry you are, you cannot do this. That's important. But here I want to also ask like every parent to do it a little bit counterintuitively. Listen and ask questions to know the reason behind the scenes, because sometimes when you solve the root, like the tree can really prosper, but if you just like cut the leaves or like the branches, sometimes it doesn't help if there's something wrong with the root. So focus on the reason, not only the way, at least not only the way, but reason first. So focus on emotion first and then the behavior. It doesn't say that manners are not important, but just emotion first, the reason first. Okay. Yeah, and they are on the way to maturity. So yeah, and a lot of times, like as parents, we don't really develop, a good enough pattern yet. Like how can we expect our children? But we are all learning, because yeah, not everyone is not perfect. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, okay. Here I want to have like some more practical thing. Yeah, because we talk about this. Give yourself some expectancy and control. That's something like just mentioned by many parents, like some, some participants here. structure and routine is important. But just as we mentioned, like at the beginning, give yourself. That means if you need to gain a sense of control, gain it for yourself first. You know, sometimes we try to gain the sense of control by controlling others, especially our kids. That's easier. But some structure, some routine for ourselves first. For example, like like we can set some time, like for example, like if you need to talk to your kids about their schooling or their, like, you know, their daily life, set up that time, you know, like, or set up the alarm, and so that you know, like, you are going to talk to your kids. Yeah, but not just, you know, like set up a schedule, like, you know, on the board, on the refrigerator for others to follow without like discussion or without spending time. And keep connected with people. That's also important, not only among family members, but just as I say, co-regulation, it happens when you when you connect with other people, and your calm voice will help moderation. That means if we control and if we like have like better like emotional management, usually we can get better results in our parenting. And adjust expectation. That's something we have to do, especially in a pandemic. We are not Superman, but neither, like, you know, like neither are a kid, right? So they are not Superman either, especially when I just mentioned and emphasize that when they grow older and older, they have to pruning, they have to let go, they have to filter, you know, things like they're interested in and they're good at. Okay, so the last, keep information updated and open for the pandemic, for schooling, and for the social activities. Be aware and accept your own emotions and your children's emotions, as well as limitations, because we cannot do everything. And communicate each other's emotion and thoughts. For example, like some parents think that you cannot go anywhere, but some kids think, no, like I see like other classmates, they go to park, they go to different places. If you do have different agreement, I mean, if you don't agree with each other, if you don't have different opinions, what's the balance? What's the balance you can develop? For example, like if you like have like those measures on, the mask on, keep safe distancing, or like if like parents can be the company, you can go to the park with them, or just like, you know, just afar, like, so to see them like doing activities, like what you can do. Encourage your kids' talents and interests, and you know, just set up the priorities, just as I mentioned earlier. Filtering, just as the Bible said, separate the wheat from the chaff, right? So there's something good can be, I mean, can remain, can stay, and whatever is not that good, it can be gone, or you can let go. And create quality time. Try some relaxing activities as a family, and learn to build up relationship. Okay. And the last thing, but not least, as a Christian, just pray together, because we know that in Proverbs that train a child in a way he should go, and when he's old, he will not turn from it. Okay. From me to we, that's also talk about the importance of like relationship. Yeah. Okay. So the last, keep distancing but stay connected. Learning in relationship, because children are built and like grown in relationship. Okay. And yeah, stay safe and healthy. And that's the discussion of today. Yeah, sorry for like delaying for 5 minutes. Yeah, I have a lot of contents, but yeah, I just want, everybody can interact more. So we're a little bit mad about the time. Yeah, thank you. And this is my presentation and like my discussion today. Yeah. And
Thank you very much, Charlotte. I think there's just too much material in there.
yeah,
So yeah, I'll take this. We'll make it available for everybody, because I think if each slide can take maybe half an hour to go through. So yeah, okay. But thank you very much, Charlotte. We appreciate you coming on and filling a lot of information. If I can just do one content, one very important content is parents, take care of yourself.
yeah, yes, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Yenny.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much, Charlotte, for the very informative and very useful tips. I came to this workshop hoping to learn more about my child, but then you reminded us that before we can take care of our child, we need to take care of ourselves first. And that's something that we often neglect, especially when we are busy working and also taking care of our kids. But as a main caregivers, we should make sure we are well first. So thank you so much. And then before we go, I don't see any questions in the chat room. I don't know if anybody has any questions, but if you do, you can probably email to the committee. If you have more, we can probably forward to Charlotte. And then I want to remind you of the next parenting class, which is going to be in on October. It's going to be in October the 10th, I believe. Yes, October the 10th from 4 to 6, and the theme is how to deal with teenage depression, suicidal thoughts, and self-harm. And this is for a different age group, as Charlotte's focus today was for elementary preschool kids, but this is more for the older kids. And we want to remind you to sign up for this class and also to invite your friends for this class. It's free, it's often free, and you can register by sending emails to parentingworkshops@feca@gmail.com. Okay, and then also, okay, so yeah, I think that's it. Anybody have anything more? Last words to say? If not, then I thank you so much, Charlotte, for your sessions. Very, very helpful. And I think, oh, one more thing. If you want to have a copy of, you want to access the video, you can also email to send your email to the Parenting Workshops email, and then we will grant you the access link. Okay? And so that's it. And thank you so much for your participation. And I hope you can all benefit from this workshop.
Let me just bless this time and seal it with the Lord's blessing. Thank you so much, Lord, because you brought all of us here. And Lord, for many of us who are struggling, so much information, but Lord, so much precious information. And thank you, Lord, for granting Charlotte all this information for all of our parents. Lord, not everything can be covered in 2 hours, but the material is very rich, and we're thankful for that. Bless all our parents, Lord, especially those who are struggling in this age group or any age group in the parenting process. We bless each of our parents, Lord, and knowing that you are, when we call on you, that you are listening. Bless all our children, Lord, and may there not be lasting damage with what has been happening. But Lord, you make all things new. Thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Charlotte. Have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Yanni.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone. Thank you,
Bye.
Sharon.